Now that I've seen all 3 John Wick movies, it is my responsibility as a YouTuber to rank the trilogy worst to best. So, how would you rank this trilogy? Let's dive in. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my ranking of the John Wick Trilogy. And I'm going to stay away from spoilers for John Wick Chapter 3 so you can feel safe watching this ranking and see where I put it. It's just 3 movies. It ain't going to be super long, but I love these John Wick movies and I'm super excited to talk about it more and have another excuse to dive into it. You can check out my spoiler-free review and tomorrow dropping my spoiler talk with my wife Laura as we dive deeper into the spoilers of John Wick. So, without further ado, here's my ranking of the 3 John Wick movies. Number 3, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. This one comes in at last place, but fear not, that doesn't mean I dislike this movie. I mean, if you check out my spoiler-free review, spoiler alert, I gave it an A-. I really enjoyed this movie. I found it highly entertaining. I thought the action was absolutely fantastic. I thought Halle Berry did a good job in the scenes that she was in. So, trying to avoid the spoilers, here's what I'll say, and I'll say it in the vaguest possible way. All these John Wick movies, they require you to have the suspension of disbelief. They do. I mean, there's some crazy things that happens in all these movies, and it's just fun. There was a few elements in this one where I feel like it was pushing my suspension of disbelief a little bit further than the other 2 did. And in some places that might have been just a tad bit weird. And so I was just like, what do I think about that? I mean, that's kind of where my mind was there. But as a whole, the movie was highly entertaining, which made this ranking very hard to do because I've enjoyed all 3 of these movies abundantly. Now, tomorrow I'm dropping my spoiler talk where I'll be a whole lot less vague, and you can check that out as my wife Laura joins me to spoiler talk this movie as we dive deeper into the sort of things I just now discussed. But I really did enjoy this movie. It just pushed my suspension of disbelief more than the other 2 did. Coming in at number 2, John Wick Chapter 2. I recently rewatched the first and second one just before going into this one. I have to say, man, John Wick Chapter 2 is almost neck and neck with the first movie for me. I just really loved this movie. I thought the action in this movie was fantastic. Did it have less story than the first one? Yes. But is that saying much? Did the first one have a ton of story to it? No. It had just enough story. And I felt this was the same thing for me. It had just enough story to pull John Wick into the action, give him an enemy, and then have a ton of freaking action in the movie. Which is what I'm there to see, is to see what is this guy gonna survive? What is this guy gonna do to the rest of the people in this world? What is going down? This is the movie we got introduced to the marker. As Santino holds the marker, this blood oath that John Wick made with this guy. You know Santino was going to call that in one way or the other. Santino says, had you had stayed in retirement, I would have respected it. I think that was a flat-out lie, and one way or the other, Santino was going to call in that marker one day because he wanted that seat at the high table. Either way, it was really good. They gave John Wick a good enemy. Fighting Ruby Rose, she was an awesome fighter, so like it was really, I don't know, there's so many great elements. Common, oh my gosh, him fighting Common, going toe-to-toe with somebody that was like just about as good as him. Obviously not as good as him, but just about. That was some really interesting stuff. Them fighting on the train with all the people around, and then the whole sequence of John Wick taking out all the assassins that are trying to take him out. Like, so much of that was incredibly interesting. Shock ending, really enjoyed it. Loved John Wick Chapter 2. But coming in at number 1, it's John Wick Chapter 1. This one definitely is my number 1 because it's the one that introduced us to this entire world. I mean, my gosh, it was so unique and so cool to see this introduction into this world for the very first time. Now, me, when this movie first came out, I didn't see it on the big screen. And I saw the trailers and stuff, but I just never paid too much attention and really didn't retain any of it. There's really nothing about this that caught my eye or grabbed my attention. But my mom kept saying, you have to see it, you have to see it, you have to see this movie. So finally, I caved in and said, fine! Rented it. And I loved going into that movie cold, not knowing that there was going to be this whole underworld with its own currency that has its own hotels with its own set of rules and all. Oh my gosh, which reminds me, something else I loved about Chapter 2, diving deeper into like when he goes to like Rome and Italy and he goes to the tasting and sees all the different guns there, and then, you know, he goes in and gets his tuxedo fit. Like, that was cool to see all the different services that are open to him. But this movie being the introduction to the fact that there are these services for these assassins. There is this Continental Hotel where business cannot be done on the premise. Being introduced to the concierge and Winston for the first time. Ian McShane is just so good. Oh, I don't know what else to say. It's the first movie. It gave you just enough story at the beginning to be attached to John Wick. So when those thugs came into his house and they killed his puppy and they took his car, you felt that pain. And when John Wick went after them, you were like, you get him! Get him! And oh, it was just so awesome to see John Wick go for it. Oh, man. And again, such a surprise, but that's what you get when you got the first movie, when it's introducing you to this world, and it's hard to top that. So that's why that's at my number 1. How would you rank all 3 John Wick movies, worst to best? Let's do that in the comments. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified when my spoiler talk drops tomorrow. My wife Laura's going to join me. We will dive deeper into John Wick Chapter 3, into all those different things, and I'm excited to talk with my wife about it, who loves these nonsensical action violence movies and just loves it, so I'm super excited to have that conversation with her. So hit the subscribe button and hit that bell so you're notified when that drops, trailer reactions, ranking videos, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.